through the camera, and I learned the nuances of photography, and composition and framing, lighting, and a lot of other things, was when a lot those films which I had watched many years back and I had appreciated them, but I did not quite know why I liked a film better than the other. Suddenly, those films came back to me, because now I understood a bit more about it, and I started rewatching a lot of those films. And as I did watch those films with also playing around with my camera at the same time, I realized that okay, films can be made. Because earlier, as I was watching those films, it just felt like magic. That there is a like I did not really even think about that who would be making those films, but now I started to think about making films because I had a camera in hand, and I think that is when I started exploring filmmaking, and then parallelly got into some sound design and music composition. I like very basic using GarageBand, but I started to watch films and learn about how the music would have been put in place, how the sound would have been done, and all the different aspects of filmmaking.
So how old were you in 2017? And what were you doing at that point of time?
I was working. I was here in the US. I was working. I think this was 7 years back. So like I must have been 26. I think 26 or 27. Yeah, yeah. Which is when I even thought of even came to the realization that films can be made. Yeah, by humans, not magicians. Yeah.
You're from US or from India? Like you live in US?
I'm from India. I'm from India. I've been living in the US since the last 10 years. I did my bachelor's in India, in Chennai, and then my master's from the US. And I'm working here right now as a software engineer. Yeah. Okay.
Great, great. I'm also currently working as a web developer.
I see. I see.
Great, great. So currently you're in US. Like, have you gone to film school?
No, I have not. And so, actually, going back to again when I was growing up watching films, I did not even know that there exists a film school. I wasn't aware of it, because even filmmaking itself seemed so far off and nebulous and magical that I did not think that there would be a school. Anyway, but at that point I was really interested in computers. Like I was like even today I'm very much into that. So I wanted to pursue computer science. But then later on, when I really got interested into filmmaking, I thought of going to the New York Film Academy, NIFA, and but unfortunately or fortunately, the year I thought of going was 2020, and then later on 2021. And both years, they were doing this online thing. They were going to do this online thing, and I did not want to enroll into a film school in an online way, because I thought, okay, there's no like the whole point of going to a film school would be collaboration and networking and so on. But so I was saving up money for that, but which I could not spend, and that is why I thought of then making a short film of my own, and spend that money there and treat this as a film school. So this short film was really my film school. So to answer your question, no, I did not go to a film school. I almost went, but then I used that money somewhere else,
That's
making a film.
that's the best approach. That's the best approach. Like, what has been
Yeah.
your parents' reaction? Have they seen the film?
Yeah, yeah, they have seen the film. Like I said, like films were a part of my growing up. Like even to date, there are films which my parents recommend me. Like just 2 days back, I was talking to them and they said, "Oh, you should watch Lapata Ladies," and I still haven't. I have to watch. So like any new film that comes, they watch. So they tell me. So yes, so they were quite open to it. Like there was no pressure on me ever to do either engineering or this or that. It was all of my own accord, and I think they have seen the film. They really liked it. They kind of uh, they also read and like watch things like that, so they they understand that. Yeah.
So you have made a short film, a great short film,
Yeah.
The Merchant of Vinashna. So how the
Yeah.
idea came, and what was your writing process? How many drafts you have written?
So idea came in 2020 when again at the peak of COVID. I was struggling emotionally and mentally because of all the happenings around. And then there was a streak of unfortunate demises in my extended family over a period of 2 or 3 years. And so I that really made me think about life and death in general. And I was reading a lot. I was kind of trying to process it. So the out that I found was writing during this time. And I was a lot of these questions which I was trying to put it into a story. Now I come from Bhopal, so I always wanted to tell a story of the tragedy, but I did not quite know how to tell it because there have been many films made on the same topic, but from the point of view of the workers, the union and so on. But I did not want to repeat that. And then this opportunity came where I was actually thinking about it. So I thought of, okay, maybe ask those questions, but in the context of the tragedy, and explore it through the point of view of death itself. uh, yeah, that's how. So you asked, okay, how many rewrites and all that. So in 2020 the idea came. It was much different initially, but in 2023 when I went to India, or rather late 2022 when I went to India to make this, and I was scouting for location with my DOP and with my storyboard artist, we new ideas came to me as I was on location. So I included them. So like the final rewrite happened 1.5 months before we went on to shoot the film. So it went through, I think, three rewrites. Final one being like a month and a half before the shoot.
So how much time it took to like complete the writing?
Um, it's so active writing. I do not write like every day. So it's like I when I accumulate enough ideas, and my brain tells me to sit down and write something, that is when I write. So that if I think like that, then I think it took me from starting from 2020 to 2023, I would say. So like, but active writing must have been 3 months, I think, like, which was like actively writing like 4 or 5, like revisiting it, watching and reading a lot. So all of that, like maybe 3 months, but like it overall, it took maybe from 2022 to 2023. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like producing, have you like you spend your own money to make this film? Were the producers?
Yes. No, no, I did my own thing because see, I like filmmaking and I want to do it my way. And I want to tell stories, a certain kind of stories, and the stories that I want to tell and the stories that I want to tell in my way. So for that, I need freedom and space. So I decided to, and like I said, like I saved up for film school anyway. So and I could not go there. So I used that money here, part of that money here to make it. So I produced it myself, put my own money in it, and that was intentional, just to get that freedom. Yeah.
So as a producer, like were you nervous? Like you were spending a lot of money. And as a
You
filmmaker
know,
and as a filmmaker as well.
yeah.
Producer plus filmmaker.
I think I I have this thing where I like, I believe in this, that you should fake it till you make it, And as a director and as a leader of that group, if I am nervous, then my whole crew will be nervous. So I might have felt jitters. I might have felt. I remember the day one of the shoot. I hadn't said action or cut before that day. So I had to ask my DOP to really, okay, tell me when to say action and cut, because there's also sound rolling, and then I have to check that everyone is silent. And then the sound guy is also wants 10 or 15 seconds to record the ambient sound. So all of that I really learned on day one of my shoot. So that way I was a bit nervous that, okay, what if I come out as an imposter? But that soon vanished. Once I got in the hang of it, like once after a shot or two, it was like I was deep in the woods, and it was just do and do, nothing else. So that there was the initial nervousness, but yeah, that was it.
So while shooting the film, like any difficulties you may have faced? Other than the
Yeah,
budget.
so we shot.
Other than the budget.
Yeah, I think we shot at night for 2 days. So because this film all takes at night, except for like very minimal parts at the end. So we had two 12-hour shifts of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. So it isn't the peak functioning time of a human body. Like we are used to sleeping at that point. So that was that physical challenge. But then I think to pack all of this into 2 days was a big challenge. So as a director, I had to make certain calls where, okay, let's skip this shot. Okay, I can live without it. And that is a very hard call to take, because during pre-production you are imagining everything stitched together and every shot matters. But when you have to make that decision, I think that was some of the insert shots we had to miss, because of the time constraint. Some of the shots which we could have taken in, we could have broken down into several shots, we had to take do it in one shot. And kudos to my actors to be able to pull off that and without many takes. But yeah, so those were some of the difficulties, just to work at night with uh, with limited resources. We were basically racing against the time, because if the sun would come up, everything is lost. Because you can only do so much in post processing with regards to that. So that was a big challenge, to maintain quality at the same time maintain schedule. Yeah.
I want to talk about the specific cinematography part. When he's talking to
Yeah.
someone, and for his point of view, there
Yeah.
is specifically some, how do you say, specific angle when the
Right.
background is blurred, and there is.
Right.
So, was this intentional, and why did we choose that?
Yeah. So the reason this was all in the script. So I said in the script, this part is surreal. Like, this is not your usual life. He is maybe dreaming of something. It is maybe his inner conscious which has come to life, uh, and this is not real part. So that was intentional. The colors, the background being blurred, the the zoom effect that we had there, the parallax effect, all of that was in. So the parallax effect starts when he goes into that zone, and when he comes out of it, then again we have the zoom out. So that was very much intentional. So yes. And even in post processing in colors, when we were doing coloring for this film, that again we treated it differently from the rest of the film. So yes, that was intentional. Yeah.
So, how the post production worked, like how much time it took in post
Yeah.
production?
It took around 2 months, because I was collaborating with. So my editor is in Bhopal. So I edited the film with him when I was there in Bhopal, and then I flew back to the US. And then from here, I was remotely working with my sound designers in Pune, FTII, and then my colorist in Mumbai. So with through my cinematographer, so my DOP and my assistant, his assistant cinematographer would travel to Mumbai and get the colors done. So that was the process really. And then music, I I decided to not have music in this film. I I had a music composer on board, and he produced some music for me, but I did not that I did not like his music. Just the fact that this film is having music was something which I was very comfortable with to start with. But I wasn't sure. So that's why I hired him. And then when he made that music, it made me reassure that, okay, this should not have music. So that's why it does not have music, although I did explore it. So that all in all, it took 2 months to finish the film after we got off shooting. Yeah.
There's heavy symbolism as well for roses. So, was
Yeah.
it written in the script, or did you change that?
It's all in the script. So because it was storyboarded and scripted and shortlisted to the word, because I knew that we had 2 days and we have to be very precise. Like, I can't do experimentations on the set, like, okay, let's just move the camera this way and try this and that. That would have been nice, but also I think, because I don't have any film school background or anything, I I consider myself uh, more careful there because I want to be more prepared than experiment something and then mess up, cause any loopholes in the script or something. So that's why, like, everything was in the script, like that Rose concept, that whole end scene and everything was in the script. That whole story of Rose, which the merchant tells the tea seller, That's a German short story, The Rose by the Grimm brothers. They used to write funnily children's stories on death, which was which is very interesting. So I had read that story long back, like I think as a kid or something, and then I suddenly recalled that story. Okay, I thought that okay, that would fit so well in this story. Yeah.
If you could tell a little bit about the story of the Merchant of Venice.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it is. So first of all, this term Vinashna comes from ancient India, where in the Vedic Saraswati River, which used to flow in India, like in the regions of Punjab where you are, and then Rajasthan, um, it started to dry up, right? And it dried up over a period of some 5,000, 6,000 years. That was when the Harappans were living there. The point where it used to flow into Arabian Sea at its peak, but then it started to dry up. So then it obviously it stopped flowing into the sea, and there used to be this town called Vinashna in Rajasthan. I think it is Rajasthan or Gujarat now it is. And it no longer exists. I think there's a small museum there. And it had this symbolic importance to that community that our ancient river used to die here. So, or stop here. So it has that symbolism of death. That city itself has symbolism of death, and the whole river drying. So that is the Vinashna, and that is where the merchant comes from. So I wanted to have this city which no one knows about. It is not present in our like on the map. Like if you were to search it on Google Maps, you will see Vinashna, but it says Vedic city of Vinashna, or Vedic city where the Vedic river dries up. So yes. So the story is of three. So there are three stories, and they are of basically a tea seller which who encounters a form of death, who kind of reveals itself and tells him the life's truth. But the tea seller is too busy with his own ways of life, and he rejects his hypothesis, and he in his arrogance he goes back to his tea stall. And then there's this poor guy who is genuinely in the need of food, and then he ends up trying to rob a temple in from which he does not gain much. And there's a good guy priest who offers him help. So there are these three characters. One is bad, like tea seller would be considered someone who has food in plenty, who refuses to budge and give food. Then there's this poor guy who is in need, who is the gray character. And then there's this priest who is the good character. And the fact that in the end the death treats them all the same, like there's no difference that the priest does not survive. Like what fault is his, so, and those were some of the questions which I was also asking, like my family members loss, and extended family members loss, and like all the other people's who, and also the tragedy when it took place, innocent people died. So this whole concept of good and bad and good and evil, I was questioning that itself. And that is kind of what I'm trying to like do in the story, that there are three different stories which are taking place, and the at the end is the death. And like what is the it's the greatest equalizer. So the story itself is not traditional. In fact, like it is subverted that way, I like it's not a traditional storytelling structure. The audience itself is a character, I feel like, in this, because they start with one thinking, and they may end up either knowing something new. They will be either the tea seller at the end, okay, bad film, let's move on. Or they will maybe take one thing or take a leaf out of my book. So it's like the journey of the character is really the audience's journey here, and rather than any of the each of these characters journey, because when we are living life, we can't see the arc from our point of view. So although we do have an arc, but yeah.
So now you have made a film. So what was the process you liked the most? Editing, writing, shooting?
Um, I think I still like writing the most. A lot. I wouldn't say most, but writing is because there's so much freedom. I can write anything and everything. There's no budgetary constraints or anything, and I don't also like to constrain myself thinking about, oh, how will I make this. They will. We will be able to make it. So like in this film also, I was thinking, oh, how will I show the tragedy? I don't have the budget to show that kind of thing. And then I was really thinking, and the answer came through. Like the answers are very, like the good answers are the most simplest ones. Like just show it through wind and shadow, and that's free. So so when I'm so that's what is liberating about writing. You can really brainstorm and make things very concise. And then the next thing which I hadn't done before was editing. But I love editing now. I think it has helped me as a writer a lot since then, since I made this film, because I was working with an editor on this one, and I learned a lot from him, working with him. Not only just the tool, but also the nuances of editing as much as I could. And I think now I'm also using that in my writing. One thing I realized was that later on I had written the script, and if you were to compare the script to the final edit, it's really the script there. There's no jumbling which we did. So I realized that I had that editor in me, but like after this film it's more pronounced, I think. Yeah.
So, are you currently doing any other projects right now?
I'm writing a feature film script. I'm applying to fellowships with it, different fellowships, and I'm trying to get money for my next film, because this was with my savings, right? But for a feature film, I want more than money. Money is one thing, because nowadays you can also shoot on an iPhone. And I've been talking with my DOP and my collaborators that, see, we should not be constrained with all of that, but the main thing is to distribute it. And the stories that I want to tell and the way I want to tell them, there needs to be a distributor who can understand that kind of thing and pitch it the right way. And I don't have that kind of expertise, because that requires a certain network, that requires being there on the ground. I'm sitting here, so I can make things, but how to distribute it is a challenge. So that is what I'm trying to figure out right now. So writing, and also learning about distribution myself. I have a production company now, so I want to also acquire that skill. So I'm doing both writing and also learning about that. So hopefully in the next 2 years I'll be going on the floor with my feature film if all goes well. Yeah, as planned.
Great,
Yeah.
great, great. The Merchant of Vinashna is screening anywhere?
So it just screened in Mumbai on 17th and 18th May at a film festival, and it has completed its film festival circuit almost. I'm waiting for a couple of more results by end of May, and then a year-long film festival circuit will be finished. And right now, it is not showing anywhere, but in June, I plan to release it on my company's YouTube channel, Absurd Films Private Limited. Yeah,
Okay, great, great, great. So,
yeah.
if you could recommend your favorite films and filmmakers, it's a list.
Oh,
You can give me a list.
oh wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I think so. For me, I would say I stumbled upon Satyajit Ray so much later in life, and I regret that, because as I was growing up, I was mostly watching a lot of Hollywood films. But when I stumbled across Satyajit Ray, so I did a film appreciation course at FTI in 2020, which is when I learned. I watched Pothir Pachali, and that changed, I think, me somewhere within me, and that simplicity of his filmmaking. I was just watching Charulata yesterday, and every time I watch it, there is like something new you learn, and it's so nuanced. And I think there's he's truly a remarkable filmmaker, Satyajit Ray, I would say. And then I think all of his films, like he is one of those filmmakers. He never made a bad film. You can, like, even his Shatranj Ke Khiladi, who critics called out as one of his weaker films. I do not think like that, because he experimented there as well, and he with each of his film he pushed the boundaries of filmmaking and really expanded the vocabulary of films for the society. We were always seeing something new in his films every time we watched it. So that was really impressive. And in contemporary filmmakers, or in the present time filmmakers, there's a Russian filmmaker called Andrei Zegenstev. uh, I really love his films. I think he is so underrated. His film Separation won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival in 2003. Amazing film. Like, it reminds me of Waiting for Godot. The play where you're waiting for something and something, and you're all in anticipation, but not. It's I could I love that play, by the way. And I when I watched this film, I thought no one better could have, although he wasn't adapting it, but I found hints of it. And his other films also, his last film, Loveless. Oh my God, what a film! Loveless, and then Leviathan was nominated for the Academy Awards. Banishment, Elena, his 5 films he has made, and all of them are good. And then, and then I think uh, Kenneth Lonergan, the American filmmaker who made Manchester by the Sea. I love his writings. He has only made 3 films, but for a writer, his films are a treasure trove. I think because if you read the scripts of, for example, his last one, Manchester by the Sea, it's so well written, and music, how he uses music, embeds music in the script itself, classical music in the script itself, and that goes on to say how what a visionary he is. And same with Rai, Satyajit Rai, he the use of his music and how he thought of music as he was writing and as he was conceiving his films, that kind of control over the craft is not usual, I would say. And then it's when someone asks me, I always forget things, but these are like Satyajit Ray and Andrei Zagintsev, Kenneth Lonergan, Coen Brothers, big Coen Brothers fan. Like starting from Blood Simple to even their individual works like Macbeth, for example, Joel Coen's solo venture. Oh my God, black and white. People do black and white for gimmicks a lot, but like he understands it. And Bruno Del Bonel was his cinematographer on Macbeth. What a film! What a film! Like, and I have watched other Macbeths also, but this Macbeth is one of my favorites. Like portrayed on film, because he did not try to dramatize it for cinema. He kept the dramaturgical aspects of Macbeth because it's ultimately a drama, and he kept that, and that kind of pronounced performances like a drama, like almost in Ghatak's Megadhakitara, for example. Like the performances are like it's loud and it's good. Like it feels good. Like you watch it, you know that it's more dramatic, and that's the kind of feel I got in Macbeth. So I really like Coen Brothers, and they even their solo work, Drive Away Walls Dolls by Ethan Coen. I watched that. That was also good, and I think now they are joining back together. Safdie brothers. Oh, and how can I forget Kritzkov Kislowski? What like Kislowski is? I think his there's this film called Camera Buff. I think we should all, like, as makers, we should all watch Camera Buff. What a film! I mean, and like so, Federico Fellini made Eight and a Half way into his career when he had made a lot of films. Um, Variety Lights, La Strada, E. Vitelloni, and after all of that, he made Eight and a Half. So he understood about cinema. But Kieslowski was making Camera Buff like as his, I think, first or second feature film, and he knew about filmmaking so much even then, and that really, I it beats me how he knew so much about filmmaking even then. So Kieslowski and Kiarostami, obviously, his shorter films I like a lot as well. The I think the wedding suit is it's such a nuanced portrait like that. Oh God, it touches my heart. I'm the film, the script that I have written also deals with kids psychology, and Kiarostami for, yeah. So like that, I always go back to Kiarostami for how he portrays children and the emotions. Yeah, some these are some of the filmmakers I really admire.
No, it's
Yeah,
a great list. It's a great list, and you have explained
yeah.
well. So my
Thank you.
last question is: so if somebody wants to become a filmmaker, so what advice would you give to them?
I think right, I would say. See, I understood something, and I initially thought that I can write for others. I could, because I used to write short stories and all that even before I got into filmmaking. So writing was always there in bits and pieces, but I was I was soon disabused of that notion that I can write for others. I understood very quickly that I can only write for myself, and by the way of that, I should also make those films, because if I can write for myself, I cannot write for others. I also cannot let others to direct my work. So I think if you um, because the way I write, the way I understand my own work, no one else, even if I am the best orator in the world, I will still not be able to explain it to them. So I think you have to be a writer, I think. Like, not necessarily, but at least what works for me is that if I write it, I get more confident on my material. And then when I'm on the set, I talked about how one might feel as an imposter. I think the best way to cure that syndrome is to write and get control of that material. And you know, that will help you overcome all of that, because then you are the creator of those characters. You are the creator of that world. Who else will know better than that? So I think like that, I think. And I think that is one of the reasons. Yeah, I would say, become a writer. I would say, and screenwriter. Do not know. Uh, watch films that you like, print out their screenplays, and watch them side by side. That's what I did to learn screenwriting. For example, Coen Brothers scripts, they are very much to the word. Like, you can literally turn the page as you are watching the film, and it does not go here and there. If only, if anything, they will edit out certain things, but they will not add something which is not on the script, which is very that kind of control, seeing that kind of control. And yeah, watching a lot of films, I think. Yeah. But writing also. And reading, maybe. Yeah. Books I think are a great source.
Okay, okay, great. So Kunal, thank you so much for joining. Such a pleasure.
Yeah.